Tom's partner, Tony, but that's all right. Here we go.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, members of council, members of management. Thanks, Lori, for setting up our technology tonight to live stream for the public for February 24, 2022 meeting of council. It is definitely February, and for those councilors that arrived in council chambers live, you know what I'm talking about. It's a cold winter night, but we do have a couple of councilors that are joining us via live stream also from their homes. Councilor Laura Aylward, Councilor Tracy Boland, and Councilor Myra White. So welcome everybody. Welcome to the public who have live streamed in. So at this time, I would ask the member of council to move that we adopt the agenda as circulated.
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Lenny Tiller, seconder. Second by Councilor Tristan Mullen. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, previous to this, our last meeting a couple of weeks ago was on February the 10th, 2022. Our town clerk, Jennifer, circulated those minutes via email. I would ask somebody to move that those minutes be adopted as circulated.
So moved.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Susan Fallow, seconder.
Second.
I second it.
Second by Councilor Laura Aylward. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. Coffee's good here tonight. Okay.
I'm jealous.
Okay, item number 3, are there any matters arising from the minutes from 2 weeks ago?
No.
Everything's good?
Yes.
Okay, I don't believe we have any proclamations or delegations, Mike, nothing there. Okay, at this time, we're going to turn it over to our Deputy Mayor Susan Fallow to chair the Finance Committee as she's live here in the chambers, and it just allows the communication process to be a little better. So I'll turn it over to you, Deputy Mayor Susan Fallow.
Okay, thank you. So for Finance Committee updates, property tax, it was the recommendation of the Finance Committee that property tax write-offs totaling $36,447.88 be approved. I so move.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Susan Fallow, seconder.
I'll second that.
Second, Councilor Tristan Mullen. All in favor?
Aye. Water and sewer tax. It was the recommendation of the Finance Committee that water and sewer tax adjustments in the amount of $648 be approved. I so move.
Moved by Deputy Mayor
I
Susan
second.
Fallow, seconder. Second by Councilor Lenny Tiller. Can I get a vote in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do I hear an aye from Myra?
Aye.
Okay. All in favor? Motion carried.
Okay. Under business tax, it was the recommendation of the Finance Committee that business tax adjustments in the amount of $10,515.61 be approved. I so move.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Susan Fallow, seconder. Second
I
by
second that.
Councilor Tracy Boland. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carried.
And our accounts payable listing for January 2022, it was the recommendation of the Finance Committee that the accounts payable listing for January 2022 totaling $479,512.02 be approved, and I so move.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Susan Fallow, seconder.
Aye.
Second, Councilor Tiller. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
We're not really. Request for an operating subsidy, the Caribou Curling Club. It was the recommendation of the Finance Committee that the town of Stephenville provide a grant to the Caribou Curling Club equivalent to electrical costs from January 1st, 2022 to October 31st, 2022, up to a maximum of $10,000. Invoices must be submitted to the town office. I so move.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Susan Fallow,
Second.
seconder.
Second.
Second, Councilor Laura Aylward. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Motion carried.
And under authorization to travel, the FCM Annual Conference and Trade Show 2022. It was the recommendation of the Finance Committee that all members of council be approved for out-of-province travel to attend the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Annual Conference and Trade Show. I so move.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Susan Fallow, seconder.
I second it.
Second by Councillor Tracy Boland. I just want to say that the last time that I attended, both Deputy Mayor Susan Fallow and I think that's the only time we attended in the
Yeah.
last 4 or 5 years because of COVID.
Yep.
But we were in Quebec City and we both spoke highly of the conference because there's so many sessions on and that you get to pick and choose the interests of the sessions that's most relevant to you and your town. So for example, Tristan Green Initiatives was a big one that
Yeah.
we got focused on when we were there. But you made a lot of contacts. We established a knowledge base, I guess, that came out of that conference. But with several councillors going now, is we'll be able to split up and take in different conferences, and we'll be able to take back that intellectual property. So and going away, meeting people, learning things, it's knowledge base that you bring back to hopefully make your town better for all citizens, make it cleaner, greener, safer. And there's a lot of innovation that's happening.
Yep.
So it's a really good move. And I'm so glad that we got so many councilors available to go, because I remember the last time, I think it was only you and I were
Yep.
the only two available to go. So
Yep.
I think we've got 6 out of 7 councillors maybe attending. So let's hope everybody stays healthy and we can get to Regina. So on that note, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay, and the award tender for the RFP 2022-001. It was the recommendation of the Finance Committee that the town of Stephenville award the tender of half-ton Chev crew cab 4x4 to Hickman Motors Limited in the amount of $44,281 plus applicable taxes. I so move.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Susan Fallow, seconder.
I second.
Second by Councillor Myra White. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Is there anything late on finance?
Not that we're.
Okay, nothing late? Okay.
Okay,
Okay, thank you very much for that, Deputy Mayor Susan Fallow. And
you're welcome.
I'm going to turn it over now to our Chair of Planning, but I'll probably turn it over to Tristan, seeing he's live. Can you handle that
Sure.
for us, Tristan?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so it's 5.2. It'll be over to Councillor Tristan Ullman for Planning and Traffic.
So the first item for planning and traffic, Barry Fowler, 2 and 4 West Street. Request for permission to consolidate 2 parcels of land, 2 West Street and 4 West Street, into 1 parcel of land to be named 2-4 West Street, as per letter attached. It was the recommendation of the Planning and Traffic Committee that this request be approved, subject to compliance with all town regulations. I so move.
Moved by Councillor Tristan Ullman, seconder.
I second that.
Oh,
Second by
Tracy
Council-
seconded it, yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Carried.
Second item, Bruce Roberts, 15 and 21 Alabama Drive. Request for a permit to drill boreholes on the property located at 15 and 21 Alabama Drive. It was the recommendation of the Planning and Traffic Committee that this request for a permit be approved, subject to compliance with all town regulations. I so move.
Moved by Councillor Tristan Ullman, seconder.
Second.
Second by Councillor Lenny Tiller. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Third item, Stephenville Professional Limited, 90 to 94 Queen Street. Request for a permit to replace existing pylon with new signage using the existing poles and structure on the property located at 90-94 Queen Street. It was the recommendation of the Planning and Traffic Committee that this request for a permit be approved, subject to compliance with all town regulations. I so move.
Moved by Councillor Tristan Ullman, seconder.
Second.
Second by Councillor Laura Aylward. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
And our final item, Devon Break, 31A St. Clair Avenue. Request for a permit to operate a home-based business to offer administrative and occupational health and safety services at the residence located at 31A St. Clair Avenue. It It was the recommendation of the Planning and Traffic Committee that this request for a permit be approved, subject to compliance with all town regulations. I so move.
Moved by Councillor Tristan Yulin, seconder.
I
second,
second.
Second by Councillor Myra White. All in favor?
Aye.
aye,
Motion carried. Anything late, Mike? No. Nothing late. Okay. Okay, thank you very much for that, Councillor Yulin, for taking the chair for both Councillor Laura Aylward and also for Deputy Mayor Susan Fowler for taking the chair for our Chair of Finance, Councillor Myra White. Okay, item number 6, bylaws and regulations. Do we have anything? While we don't have anything, I just want to speak a little bit. Tristan and I sharing a little bit of a communication on bylaws. And this is something I'd just like to talk about here, and maybe in the next few weeks, we can take to a planning meeting and then take to full council. But I think we need to look at developing some new policies because it shows that, you know, running a town, things change and the dynamics of business and the needs of community changes. And right now, we don't have any food production happening right in Stephenville from a commercial perspective. And that has changed. You have now vertical farms, you have hydroponics, you have aquaponics. There's all types of innovation and technology in growing food. But we should look at as an incentive that because of the insecurity we have around food security, does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. In this province, that if a company decides to set up in Stephenville, and we do have some interests, and that's why I've communicated this with Councillor Yulman, that we can look at putting a policy in place that there'd probably be a waiver on property tax, not on business tax, but we could do something as an incentivized component of showing our part and how important food production is. Because when you look at this province and you see that a food bank now are struggling, that somebody can only get food every 8 weeks. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I tend to go to the grocery store at least once a week.
Absolutely.
And I'm fortunate, but not everybody's in that position, especially January and February, when you got to decide, do I stay warm or do I eat?
Yeah.
So it's a small thing, but it is a big thing. So I just want to raise it to the public that maybe that could be our next new policy. And this could be the first policy of this council, because I think it's an important one. Okay. Item number 7, any unfinished business?
Not that I know of.
Any new business?
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay,
I got,
Councillor Tiller.
I'm pleased to announce that the Accessibility Advisory Committee had its startup meeting on Monday, February 21st. The Accessibility Advisory Committee strongly believes in its mandate, set it in the terms of reference that it is vitally important that our town be accessible to all residents and to provide equal access and opportunity to individuals with disabilities, both visible and non-visible. This includes many resources that are offered within our town: healthcare, recreation, employment, education, infrastructure, and more. I want to thank our current committee members for stepping up, which is Keely McIntosh Hines of Empower, Sharon Williston, who plays multiple facets in our community, Brian Lopez with Momentum, Lonnie Young, who is a resident who has lived experience, and along with my father, Dwayne Tiller, who's agreed to step up. And I want to thank them for being part of such an integral and important job that we have over the next 3 years.
That's wonderful. I'd like to commend your leadership in getting this committee formed, Councillor Tiller. It's so important to me and this council. When we talk about inclusivity and accessibility, and every little small step we can make is a giant step for somebody else, you know? And we do have great resources in the town of Stephenville. I know in the past council, we did some work around town, around letdowns and step-ups for wheelchairs. And it was noted to us, you know, and sometimes, unless you got a committee, you got people out looking, you don't know your deficiencies.
Exactly.
So one Remembrance Day, a lady said, you know what, there was a veteran in a wheelchair and he couldn't get up and lay the wreath because there was no, and before you know it, our public works had the cement proper slope thing in place. So it doesn't take much, but it means a lot to a lot of people. So I got to commend you on that committee, and that's what's nice about this council. We have a balance of council, young, old, good singer, not so good a singer over here. Well,
Big mouth, small
so we
mouth.
got a balance, and we got Laura on healthcare, and Myra and finance, and Tracy and our guardian angel. So I'm very proud of where we're heading with this council, and
Yeah.
it's good steps forward.
And I think too, you know, through years, as different issues around accessibility have been mandated by government, say, or we've encouraged businesses to be physically accessible to people and stuff, that a lot of people look at it as a big cost. And a lot of people say, gee, I only know 3 people that use wheelchairs in the whole community. That's a big, you know, that's a big expense for that. So I think it's important for all of us to recognize that part of the process, I guess if we're lucky enough to get older, part of getting older is about balance issues and those kinds of things, and moving to often things like canes and other adaptive equipment. Also, if we start families, we're looking at strollers and those kinds of things. So it's not just about that one person, it's about that every person, and we're all just kind of an accident away from needing those things, right? So I think,
Absolutely.
again, congratulations, glad it's up and going, and I think there's lots of challenges for you fellas to get into, but that's great.
It's work to be done for sure.
Yeah.
So a couple of things I want to go over. First of all, just a little update. I have a meeting coming up with the Y this week, and they have been reached out by the provincial government department about funding opportunities for enhanced daycare. So I got a meeting coming up this week.
Yes, Tuesday too.
Yeah,
I can
you
make
couldn't
it now
make it.
because they got it on
Yeah.
Tuesday.
But Marissa's going to be there with our recreation and wellness. And it just goes to show great leadership at the Y. And Y being that distinction of being involved in that area of support, that the provincial government reached out to them, and they know that we're a very supportive council. So I'll give an update in the future on that. The other thing I want to say is with the Ukraine and what's happening.
Yeah.
You know, my heart goes, we have the largest Ukrainian region in the province, by the way, of Ukrainians in Maidstone and Stephenville. In this Bay St. George area, the highest level. But to them and their families, I'm sure when they go to sleep tonight or last night, they weren't feeling very good because they obviously have family, friends. And when you think that we're in the 21st century, NATO's been around for so many years. I think 1963 is when it was formed, if I'm correct on my history. I could be wrong because there's people listening. Text me if I'm wrong, but it could be 1963. But to know that there's still tyranny in the world and aggression, and but you know what? It takes strength, and that's what NATO and democracy. So when you think about, we got a democratic sovereign state that's now being bombed, and aggressively, and sometimes there's always motives for war, but no matter what the motive is, war isn't good. So I just want to say our hearts and our prayers are with the Ukrainian community that's within the Stephenville area, but also to the Ukrainian community that is abroad. The Ukraine is known as the breadbasket of Europe because of its rich farming, deltas and river valleys. It's the breadbasket, but it's always been a very strategic, important piece of geography, and a lot of wars, even before the Russians invaded. yesterday. So go ahead, Councillor Aylward.
Did you say the Codroy Valley and Stephenville had the most Ukrainians in the province?
Yeah, between Stephenville and the Bay St. George area, there's quite a few Ukrainian families, I think, work into the dairy industry out in
Correct.
Maidstone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think
Oh,
we have the highest ratio of Ukrainians in the province.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah,
And our doors are open if anyone
And,
else needs to,
yeah. And
To come.
maybe we might be able to find some, because there's a lot of Ukrainian doctors in Saskatchewan and Manitoba. Maybe with what's happening over there, and you don't want to capitalize on it, but if there are professionals and specialists and surgeons, it could be an opportunity to solve some of the woes in our healthcare needs.
Mhm.
But you know what? During the war, they're gonna probably need them more than we do,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that.
Yeah.
I also wanted to bring up today, let's make sure I got my notes here. Yeah, just one more, I got two more things, I guess. I'm working with management and the provincial government approved us. Is it $1.2 million, Mike, for the overpass? So, so right now, I think it's DMG, one of the engineering firms in the province, through municipal affairs, are doing an assessment on that bridge. But municipal affairs now, and Ted is working on this, I think we got a meeting set up for Monday with municipal affairs and whatnot. But there's a new approach for overpasses and bridges that's happening in Canada. It's very big in Europe, and they're called timber frame. And they tend to come in actually under budget when it comes to steel and concrete. They actually tend to have a longer life term. You get a 100-year engineering stamp with them. But the big thing, and this ties into where we're going in Stephenville, and I always, everything we do, I always think about what's the benefit to the environment. So a timber frame bridge has less of a carbon impact than steel and concrete.
Yeah.
So that's a real positive thing because we're registered under Partner of Climate Protection. So it's being looked at to see if it's feasible, can it be done? Because the assessment's going to determine the condition of that bridge, how much or how little is got to be done to it. And then, but the nice thing is municipal affairs is looking at this and supporting it, because if we can, if the recommendations and the scale of the project, the scope is within budget, and we get our timber frame bridge, it's going to be good for the environment. Aesthetically, it's going to look dynamic on Carolina Drive, which is our busiest road traveled into the town as a regional center. And it's significant because that overpass was the first overpass built in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador
I didn't know that.
in the 1950s by the U.S. Air Force Corps of Engineers. The first overpass built in Newfoundland. So to hold on to that and then to heighten it with something that's engineered better for the environment, aesthetically pleasing, I think it's not sure if all the cards are going to line up, Mike, but it'd be an awful nice thing if it did, eh?
You'd probably be the first timber bridge, wouldn't you?
I was going
We
to
would
say,
be the first in the province, you're right, I
say,
forgot to say that. We would be the first, like we were the first with tiny homes.
Yeah.
We could be the first town with a timber frame bridge. So I want to mention that. The last one I wanted to mention was the story with the Diamond Group on CBC today. Obviously, the media sometimes they'll do their investigation and they'll dig. But at the end of the day, this is a private deal. This is a private deal between a private corporation and the Stephenville Airport Corporation. It's not open to the public until they decide to issue a press release, have a press conference, and so forth. So the Diamond Group of companies also, their DNA is cybersecurity. So a lot of things they do or don't do is their business, you know? And it's tough that we're so close, and we've had a very good meeting with the airport authority this week. The process is in play. The timelines, according to the lawyers, are normal. It takes this amount of time. Due diligence only finished at the end of December. We're really only 5 months into it from the announcement in September. It takes you 3 months to buy a house sometimes. But we're being challenged by the naysayers, and that you're not going to stop that. It's like you said the other day, Susan, it's the 90-10 principle. It's the 1 in 10 that's going to be against it. But you know what? When this deal happens and we start seeing development, remember, the scale of this project was a development over 6 to 7 years. A drone would not fly for 3 years. So there's a lot of people in Transport Canada. So who did they reach in Transport? Did they do an application for the drone? No, they're not ready. Because it takes 3 years to engineer with their aerospace engineers. So I'm confident in this file. It's unfortunate that it hit the media the way it is. And the people that didn't believe it from the beginning love it. But I'm not one of them. I'm a believer, not a non-believer. So I just wanted to say that we're going to stay the course. And today, myself and the chair of the board and Mr. Carl Diamond and the airport manager, we had a meeting and just spoke, but we're staying the course. We're on course, we're on progress, and we're only weeks away from a deal being done. So that note.
Might be months though.
Well, it could be a month, yeah.
Yeah. Before we go, a couple of things. I have a 3-page letter here that Trevor wrote to the minister about the money that the other airports got and we didn't get. And Lou gave me a copy of it yesterday, so I was going to share it with council when I went in this evening, but of course I didn't get in there. So it's a good letter, and it's gone off now to the minister. And that's one thing. And the second thing, I attended a 2-hour session with Western Health and a bunch of other people on, what day was that on? Wednesday, I believe. It was in the chambers. I decided to go in the chambers so I could see everybody on the screen. It was the first time that I had done a meeting virtually with what they call breakout rooms, or I think that's what they're called. And you break in, everybody's in a different room. Yeah, so first of all, when the introductions and everything came on, most everybody was on the screen, and then people joined as, later on and so on. But I was on the screen with the moderator was Devin Goulding, Western Health Senior Manager, who retired and back to work because of COVID, I guess, and I guess he'll be retiring again, but he's there for now. So he's in charge of financials and some other things. And then, of course, the Bryson Webb, the chair of the board, he was on there. And Dr. Dennis Rajley was on there as VP of Medical Affairs. He was on there as well. And then there was a lot of other people that didn't have their cameras on, like Sharon Williston was on there, and there was a lot of other different groups. Mark Mills, one of our board members, was on there. And I tell you, it was one of those meetings where, you talk about your values and your mission and all that stuff, and then you ask questions and what is your priority now if you were to be asking for, there's 3 things. What is your first priority? That type of thing. And another question was, do you think that we're doing enough, or do you think we should do more? Now, this was called community partnerships, it's called, and it's all to do with their strategic plan that goes right into 2023. So I got to be honest. I mean, I can talk. I don't mind talking. I like talking. My God, I could not believe the people on there that hardly. And when he'd say, "What's your opinion on that?" No, all was silent. So I think Sharon and I were the only two that really got into it and you know, intertwined with the plan and what they were trying to say. The other people was like, they just didn't say anything. And not that we didn't give them a chance. You'd wait and you'd wait and you'd wait. And when nobody would say anything, he'd say, well, I guess we'll go on the next one then, you know, that type thing. But just wanted to let you know that I did go on that meeting, and they have that, usually they'll have it once a year, and we meet face to face, but yesterday was on this team, so. But I did my point across about, you know, what I thought, and that there was a lot of things that needed to be looked at in their plan, because there's a lot of things going on now that's not working, so.
If I could maybe just add a couple of things to what you're saying there too. I'd also like to a shout out to Dr. McCumsky and his clinic, which is a fee-for-service clinic. He's been advertising our town's incentive program into the Evening Telegram and promoting to try to get extra doctors at his clinic. So that's a really good thing. The other thing I want to say too, Laura, our airport manager has a meeting with the minister's department tomorrow as to why we were left out of funding when the premier and the government announced funding, marketing dollars for Come Home Year for 3 airports, but not Stephenville. And unless we're not allowed to come home in the Stephenville, Bay St. George, Port Bass region, but I don't think that's the case.
We're having go away year.
We have airline service this summer that's bringing tourists. So I'm really disappointed, but I'm hoping that this will never happen again. You know, we're Newfoundland and Labradorians, this region, just like people around Deer Lake, people around Gander, people around St. John's. Now, we might be Mi'kmaq, we might be French, but we're still Newfoundland and Labradorians. And to be shunned out of marketing dollars to promote our airport when with COVID, it's very, very difficult for airports, and the propensity to travel is not there like it used to be because of COVID. So we need it equally, just like anybody else. And I'm hoping that the government comes forward and decides to step forward and treat us equal, just like the other airports.
I agree.
Yep.
Yeah.
I attended the urban municipalities committee meeting, and they meet 4 times a year, I think it is, in different locations each time. And of course, this was hopefully the last Zoom meeting. Next one will be face to face, and it was the first one for me. I replaced the late Councillor Mike Tobin, and that was mentioned at the meeting, and they spoke very highly of Mike. So I said I would certainly bring that back. It was interesting. I mean, it was mostly trying to wrap my head around all the different discussions and see, you know, what made sense. And I was late getting some of the information, so I kind of went into it a little bit blind, but it was a very good way, I think, of making sense of where other municipalities are, what the struggles are, and recognizing that, of course, there's similar struggles right across the province in many ways. That there was some discussion around MNL, the code of conduct, which has started now in terms of their doing the training sessions and so on. And there was also some discussion about the class that's the partnership between MNL and CNA. So the College of North Atlantic and Municipalities, Newfoundland and Labrador, for those who are listening to all the letters. And that course is halfway through now and is running very well. I think they're pleased with it. I'm very pleased with how it's being received and the discussions that we're having in each of the weeks and the units. And I think as I go through it now with people, and there's 25 in the class, and I think it's pretty well full. They're going to start again right away, the next one. And that one's full or getting close to full. And then they'll go with the next one, but the feedback is very positive, and I must say I think it's a really good way of really sinking your teeth into the municipal handbook, right? Which is what the course is all about. We've had some great discussions around different things and so on. So they were pleased with that, and that was part of the discussion. There was discussion around ATV routes, and everybody seems to be struggling with the same kinds of things, which is we would like to have ATVs have access to, the roads and get into our different hotels and motels and restaurants and stuff. But how do we do that in a way where we can enforce it and we don't have the abuse of it? And some communities are having a lot of ATV issues. They're probably more rural, even though they probably have a bigger, decent sized population. But so there was a fair bit of discussion around that, and there was some discussion around the caretaker convention, and so I got all excited. Thought they were talking about taking care of people. Didn't know it had to do with when the government's gone into caretaker mode. I was waiting to see when we were having a convention. But anyway, there was some discussion, and they're trying to create some direction for municipalities, because when the government goes in caretaker mode, what do municipalities do when the business of the municipality depends on some of the government departments that aren't necessarily available to them? So they're trying to draft some processes there so that municipalities aren't left in the dark if government is in that particular space. What else was happening there? There was an update on the regional government and the information that we got a couple of weeks ago. And MNL, from what I can gather at this meeting anyway, MNL was a large contributor to that process and really pushed for certain things and feel really good about the process that's outlined, but they're waiting to see where that goes. And they were very careful about, they said it is easy for people to interpret that as adding another layer of government, but in fact, the intent is not to do that. And they outlined some of the ways in which that's not actually happening. And it's a little bit difficult probably for us to wrap our head around some of what's happening, because we've been doing this without necessarily labeling it regional government, but we've been sharing services in communities around here for quite a while. So for us in this area, it's probably, we're probably not going to be impacted a great deal, whereas other places are probably going to see more significant stuff. And the other thing is, of course, while they're very pleased with it, then I listened to a radio program then when they had some people from the service districts and stuff on there, and of course they weren't pleased with it at all, and they felt that MNL was leaving them out, and they're the ones. And I suppose in many ways they're right in that they're the people who are probably going to see the most significant changes, but the intent is not for those changes to be negative, and that's the important piece. So MNL is trying to work closely with government as that unfolds, so hopefully that'll work. And that was about it. They talked about the budget a little bit. They talked, as always, about waste management and the fact that, the price differences and so on in different regions, and that we're getting hit here pretty hard, as you know. Marine Atlantic rates is always an issue. And so the mayor from Port aux Basques spoke about that again, and trying to get people to continue to support that by reminding your MHAs and your MPs particularly to remind the federal government that it's our constitutional right to be able to move about the country freely. And as a result of that, there needs to be more support so that the price of that is affordable for people, as opposed to continuing to go up, right? So anyway, that was how Saturday was spent, and it was good. it was informative and, I'll look forward to the next one for sure.
Just
Councillor
got me
Paulo,
thinking.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Paulo, Councillor Tobin used to say, I attended the UMC meeting and blah, 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 and now I'm going to give you the Reader's Digest version. So what version
Yes.
did you give us?
Well,
Mine is Nicole's notes. I had a little bit more of mine.
it's funny, we're talking about the disparity and what we pay per ton for our waste compared to St. John's.
Yep,
And then St. John's gets money for marketing their airport, we get none.
yep.
Boy, geez,
You wonder
It's
why
almost like-
people can get cynical, right?
yes, you wonder. Anyways, one
Yeah.
last thing I mentioned
Mr.
before.
Mayor, you forgot to mention that we had a good announcement on funding for the airport with MP Goody Hutchings.
Yeah, I'm gonna make that, I was gonna
Yeah.
mention that.
Yeah,
Great news for the airport yesterday, our federal MP, Minister Hutchings now,
Right.
representing the government of Canada, announced two major pieces of equipment for the airport, a sweeper for sweeping the runway, that's for the ice and the snow and so forth, and a friction tester for testing the friction for braking action for aircraft before they land. And it was close to $400,000, a really good step. And when you think about the federal government investing in the airport, last year we got the provincial government to invest with Winnipeg Airport Authority to come in and start new management to help get the airport ready for business, which they have done in fine style. They're in full compliance. Last year, the airport actually turned a small profit for the first time on their books. That was 2020, 2021 audited financial statements are not in. But, and aircraft movements are up 23%. And we have Tintina Airlines, and all it takes is one airline. It don't take much to change your ratios on your numbers. But it is important, and that airline is here because of the adjacency to the gold mine in Portobello. But the other thing I want to mention is I'm hoping that our MP, Minister Hutchings, will be back soon because we have two major applications from the town of Stephenville. One is for a brand new curling rink to be built onto our stadium. And that's a tune of about $5 million. And we also have one around $2 million, which is the upgrade of our YMCA. There are other community groups that have applied. This is one of the federal green transition funds. And so let's hope as.
and it's still in the mix, because I did ask about it yesterday. It's, they haven't made decisions yet, so it's still there, being reviewed for decisions, right? So. I
Hi,
just
Mr. Mayor, I'd like
gently-
to.
Oh,
Hi, Mr.
yeah,
Mayor.
Tracy should mention
I'd like
about,
to take a-
Yeah, go ahead, Tracy. You want to
Yeah,
talk about?
Sorry, it's hard to do it from home, but I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that this was the start of our winter carnival for Stephenville weekend, starting on Friday. It'll go through with lots of activities and events on Friday, Saturday, leading into Sunday at the Stephenville Dome. And then we still have events on Monday as well as Tuesday. And Tuesday night will be the draw for the shed from Kinsman and the Gold Rush night.
that declared snow.
I
in
got
my
it, like the
backyard.
wind, that's shit.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that, Councillor Boland. So if there's nothing else, I would ask the councillor to move that we adjourn the meeting. Moved by Councillor Lenny Tiller, seconder.
I second.
Kristen Yulin. Before all in favor, I just want to thank everybody for joining in for management council. We do have really good attendance with this council for meetings, very good attendance, and that shows a lot of grit and determination for your roles. But also for the people that join in and visit us via live stream. It's a little bit better than coming up Nicole and sitting in the gallery, I'm sure. But
You
thank you back. So
Yeah.
all in favor?
Could we, could I bring something up after the meeting when we're offline?
Yeah, close up, yeah. Okay, all in favor to adjourn the meeting?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried, meeting adjourned.